You've been told that charisma is an aura, some invisible energy that certain people are just born with. That's the first lie. Charisma is not an accident. It's architecture. It's the deliberate construction of perception, the ability to alter someone's sense of reality without them even realizing it. And here's the truth. It's not about you. It's about them. Jacques Lacan called it the gaze. When you truly look at someone, deeply, intentionally, you don't just observe them, you reflect them. Your gaze becomes a mirror for who they want to be. It's not empathy. It's psychological manipulation at its purest form. Because people are starving to be seen, not as they are, but as they imagine themselves to be. Most people drift through life unnoticed, ghosts in the background of their own stories, invisible even to themselves. But when you see them, when your gaze holds a second too long, when your attention lingers like they are the only person in the room, it disrupts their narrative. For the first time, they feel real, not just seen, but understood. And here's where the real power begins. You don't reflect truth. You reflect desire. You don't show them who they are. You show them who they wish they were, and they fall for it. They crave it, because nobody else sees them like that. You become a mirror for their aspirations, their hidden selves, the version of them they are terrified doesn't exist. That's why people become addicted to charismatic individuals. It's not magic, it's psychology. Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote, "Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills." Their desires are not their own. They're echoes of longing, projections of an ideal. And when you reflect that ideal back at them, they don't become addicted to you. They become addicted to who they are in your presence. The real power of charisma is not in speaking louder or shining brighter. It's in disappearing, erasing yourself, and becoming the perfect reflection of what they want to see. You don't dominate the room, you define it. Lacan argued that identity is not built internally, it's reflected externally. People don't know who they are until someone else shows them. And that's what makes charisma dangerous. It's not manipulation, it's self-definition by proxy. You're not just someone they admire. You're the architect of their self-image. They see themselves through your eyes, and it feels better than reality. They crave your presence because in it, they become more than they are. And the best part? They never realize it's happening. You've been told that power is about domination, that the loudest voice commands the room. That's the second lie. Real power is not about volume, it's about gravity. It's the ability to bend the energy of a space without force. You've seen it happen. Someone walks in, and the atmosphere shifts. Conversations stall, heads turn. And yet, they've said nothing. It's as if the room itself is acknowledging their presence. This isn't charisma. This is something deeper. Friedrich Nietzsche called it will to power. Not the desire to control others, but to control the perception of reality. To make people feel your presence without demanding it. It's the art of invisible influence. Power dynamics are not built through force. They are engineered through suggestion. When you walk into a room and don't rush to speak, you disrupt the rhythm. Silence is tension, and tension is control. Most people can't handle it. They rush to fill the void, rambling to escape the discomfort. But the powerful understand that tension is leverage. The one who can hold the silence longest holds the power. Because in that pause, people lean in. They wonder what you're thinking, why you're not speaking, what you might say next. Their imagination does the work for you. They project authority onto you, not because of what you've done, but because of what you withheld. This is not learned behavior. It's primal. In nature, the predator is not the one making noise. It's the one that moves slowly, deliberately, with purpose. The room senses it before it even speaks. The real power is in the pause, the ability to create a vacuum of anticipation and let others fill it with their own projections. But it's not just silence. True power also manipulates space. When someone steps forward, you instinctively step back. When they lean in, you lean away. It's biological, but the powerful break that rhythm. They remain still, immovable. Whoever controls the space controls the perception. Nietzsche argued that power is not about domination, it's about definition. Whoever defines the space defines the reality within it. You occupy space differently. When you move slowly, deliberately, you send a message. I am not in a rush. The room moves at my pace, and people feel it. You don't have to force attention. You simply have to command the invisible threads that bind perception. Space, silence, stillness. They're not passive. They're strategic. You don't need volume. You need gravity. The more magnetic you become, the more power you hold over perception. But with that power comes an unspoken risk, self-delusion. It's the shadow side of influence that nobody talks about. The ones who reach that level of mastery, the ones who can bend a room with a glance, who can turn silence into command, they discover the mirror isn't just reflecting them, it's redefining them. Lacan called it the mirror stage, the moment you first see your own reflection and start building your identity from the outside in. Charisma hijacks this process. When you weaponize perception, you don't just manipulate others, you manipulate yourself. You create a version of you that exists only in their eyes, and the longer you play that role, the more it solidifies. The trap is subtle. At first, you're simply mirroring what they want to see, drawing them closer, capturing their attention. But as the reflection grows stronger, you start living up to it. You become the person they imagine you are, until the mask is no longer something you wear. It's something you inhabit. The danger is this: the more you lean into their perception, the further you drift from your own. You begin tailoring your behavior not to who you are, but to who you want them to think you are. Conversations become performances. Authenticity is replaced with strategic reflection. You're no longer a person, you're a projection, a polished surface engineered to reflect desire. Jean-Paul Sartre believed that living for the gaze of others is a kind of self-betrayal. He argued that to exist purely in someone else's perception is to surrender your autonomy. This is the essence of the charisma trap. You think you're building influence, but you're constructing a cage, an image that must be maintained, polished, and protected. The mask hardens, the role deepens, and you become trapped inside your own reflection, afraid to shatter the image because you don't remember what exists beneath it. Here's the real test. Would you still be who you are if nobody was watching? If the reflections vanished, would anything of you remain? That's the cost of charisma without grounding. It's not just a distortion of others. It's a distortion of self, a polished surface that glows in the light but disappears in the dark. Charisma, unchecked, is not influence. It's a masquerade. And if you're not careful, you'll forget who's wearing the mask. When certain people walk into a room, the atmosphere changes. It's not because of their voice or their appearance. It's something deeper, an unspoken gravitational pull that alters the energy around them. You've seen it happen. Conversations pause, heads turn, and yet they've said nothing. This isn't coincidence, it's engineered. Sartre believed that existence precedes essence, that your presence is not a byproduct of who you are, but what you project. True magnetic presence is not about noise, it's about density. You become heavy with intent, impossible to ignore, not because you demand attention, but because you absorb it. It begins with the way you occupy space. Most people are restless. They fidget, they shift, they scan the room for validation. But those who understand presence don't move unless it's intentional. They are still, not because they are passive, but because they are anchored. Stillness, in a chaotic world, is disruptive. It signals control. It creates an aura of inevitability. But presence isn't just about body language, it's atmospheric manipulation. Nietzsche believed that power is about bending reality to your will. True presence is not just being seen, it's altering the perception of the space around you. When you move deliberately, you signal control. The room adjusts to your rhythm. You send a signal. I am not in a rush. The room moves at my pace, and people feel it. Their tempo adjusts, their energy recalibrates. You've done nothing, and yet you've already taken control. But stillness is only the first layer. There's a deeper anchor, the power of deliberate silence. In a world drowning in noise, silence is a weapon. Most people rush to fill it, terrified of the tension it creates. But charismatic individuals understand that silence is not emptiness, it's anticipation. It's a vacuum that demands to be filled, and the one who holds it longest controls its weight. Think of the last time someone asked you a question and let the silence stretch out just a second too long. You felt it, the discomfort, the urge to speak, to fill the void, to release the pressure. That's control. The pause is not passive. It's an invisible hand tightening around the room, forcing attention, commanding focus. Sartre called this being for others, the idea that true dominance is not loud or forceful. It's atmospheric. It's the silent declaration that your existence shapes the environment around you. You are not moved by it. You move it. When you master silence, stillness, and spatial control, you are no longer a participant in the room. You are its gravitational center. The energy bends around you. The conversations orbit you. And yet, you've barely spoken. Because true presence is not about taking up space. It's about defining it. When you master presence, when you can bend perception, command space, and manipulate the invisible threads of attention, you hold real power, the kind that rewires perception, the kind that redefines reality. But with that power comes a risk, one almost nobody sees, the illusion of ownership. Emmanuel Levinas called it the other. He argued that true influence is not domination. It's moral responsibility. The moment you hold someone's attention, the moment you draw them into your orbit, you take on the weight of what you reflect back. It's not just perception, it's consequence. Here's the real danger of charisma. It's all-consuming. You become so good at reflecting back their desires, their hidden fears, their aspirations, that you start to believe you own that influence. But you don't. True charisma is borrowed, not owned. It's a window, not a mirror. It's fragile, conditional. The moment you mistake it for ownership is the moment you fall into the ethical abyss. Søren Kierkegaard called it the leap of faith, the willingness to act authentically without the safety net of perception, to wield influence without distorting it. This is where most people fail. They use charisma to bind others to their vision, their desires, their worldview. They forget that true presence isn't about reflection, it's about space creation. It's the ability to make others feel seen, heard, and understood, not as you want them to be, but as they truly are. Here's the test of ethical charisma. When people leave your presence, do they feel more like themselves or more like you? If your influence shapes them into mirrors of your own ambition, you've crossed the line. You've manipulated, not elevated. But if they leave feeling clearer, stronger, more aligned with their own truth, you've wielded it correctly. Levinas believed that influence is sacrifice, to reflect back someone's highest potential without distorting it to serve your own ego. That's the true weight of presence. It's not about domination. It's about liberation. If you don't set them free, you're only building a cage. Charisma is not just a mirror. It's a window. And if you're not opening it, you're closing them in. Mastering presence, manipulating perception, bending space. These are the tools of charismatic influence. But the final mastery is not found in control. It's found in detachment, and that's where we go next. The true essence of charisma is not about being magnetic. True power is in being unmoved. The ones who reach this level don't just draw people in. They operate above the need for approval, beyond the grasp of judgment. Their influence is absolute because it is unyielding. Schopenhauer believed that to desire nothing is to be invincible. Most people are bound by need. The need to be seen, the need to be validated, the need to be admired. It makes them predictable, manipulatable. But those who become untouchable sever that need. They move through rooms without seeking approval, without chasing validation. Their presence is felt because it's independent of the room itself. This is the final mastery of charisma, sovereignty. When you can walk into a room and alter its energy, not because you demand it, but because you're indifferent to it, you transcend the invisible threads of influence that bind most people. The powerful don't just command space. They create it. It's not dominance, it's not force, it's absence of need. That's why when they speak, people listen, not because they're louder, not because they're sharper, but because their words are unweighted by desperation. It's magnetic in the most primal way. People gravitate toward what they can't control. When you're untouchable, you don't react. You observe. You don't defend. You declare. There's no rush to fill the silence, no need to prove your presence. It's the paradox of true influence. The less you seek it, the more it seeks you. This is why the final mastery of charisma is not about wielding power over others. It's about removing their power over you. No criticism penetrates. No judgment lingers. Your influence becomes absolute, not because you hold their gaze, but because you are untouched by it. Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, "To be free is to be beyond systems, beyond influence, beyond society's control." That's the final form of charisma, sovereignty over self. You become a force of nature, unaligned, unattached, unbreakable. The room bends to you because it can't reach you. And here's the truth. When you no longer seek their validation, you don't just hold attention. You become unforgettable. They remember you not because you demanded it, but because your presence redefined the space itself. This is the pinnacle of mastery. Not command, not control, transcendence. If you understand that true power is sovereignty over self, if you know that presence is not demanded, but defined, then write it below. I exist beyond the mirror. Because when you sever the need for validation, you don't just become powerful, you become inevitable. You've just been handed the blueprint. The question is, will you build with it? But it doesn't end here. If you want to understand how control is woven into your thoughts, your beliefs, and even your choices, there's another layer waiting. Watch this next. How they control you without you ever noticing. Find out how influence operates beneath the surface and how to take back control.